What's up, guys? So excited to be here, but I'm missing my wife. But it's good to have somebody else here with me. And uh, welcome to Altered, where we believe that you can be altered by God when you present your life as a living sacrifice at the altar of God. So, welcome. I hope that you're enjoying the series. I have a very, very dear friend today with me, and I have known Pastor Sam Thomas for so many years, I think over a decade, maybe. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I've known him over because we studied in college together, and
Yeah.
he 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 used to be silent at the time, and how God has changed him to who he is today. I'm just excited to make you all listen to his powerful story and testimony, and what God is doing in and through his life. And why don't you just tell us what you do, who you are, and
Well, thank you for the lovely introduction. And I am here in Delhi, have a church,
yeah,
very young, growing, vibrant church, very close by. And very excited for what the Lord is doing. Never thought I'll be a pastor, but here we are.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think me and Sam are both similar and not so similar. I think we are similar because I think many of us, both of us, did not really want to take the burden of what our parents were doing necessarily, but I think his way was to become like a an intellectual student, and my I think my way was to become like this Mufat uh, weirdo. So I think even though the intention was same, I think we chose different routes to kind of express what we wanted. But I think I'm so happy that we're sitting here after almost close to 15 years and thanking the Lord for
Yeah.
being in ministry.
Yeah.
So when did you when did you know that God had called you for full-time ministry?
Oh, so right after college engineering, when I came back to Delhi, I wanted to serve God. And at the time, I was just serving in any capacity I could. So I was just helping out my parents in whatever they needed help with. But then I had more friends who were like musically, they had like a band and
Yeah,
stuff. So I could just help them. I was a guitarist,
yeah.
so I was with Pastor Ashley Joseph for a very long time. Played with him and traveled with him. But it was in like 2011. I was attending an AG youth camp, also went there to serve. And that's when I clearly heard the Lord say that I'm
Wow.
called for full time ministry. But I really did not know what that meant.
Yeah,
I thought it was more to do with music.
yeah,
And I thought I was to be like the second man, the one who would back
yeah.
the front man. That's what I thought. Yeah, for a long period of time. But
Like
then
why did you think that? Because of your temperament? Why would you think that you're a second guy?
because I never had the confidence to lead something, and also my public skills and social skills weren't yet developed then. So I never thought I would be the guy who would lead people from the front.
But isn't that so ironic that people think that the extrovert guy
Yeah,
is the first choice for pastoral ministry and
yeah, that's so true. Because when I first shared my vision with someone, a very dear friend of mine who was older, like a mentor, and I said, maybe God is calling me to be a pastor, like he shut me down. He said, you don't have the character, not the character, but you don't have the
the
personality.
juice?
Yeah. Because, but he was right in a sense. Like I did not know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep the crowd, you know, alive in that sense.
It's so funny that, I think when I think about myself, I try to hide my insecurity and my nervousness by cracking jokes. So that's
Yeah.
how I kind of uh kind of try to break the ice because otherwise I'm very, very nervous. I'm not really an extrovert guy, but I'm good at asking questions. So
Right.
I think my people think I'm extrovert because I always ask questions. And then obviously people are talking, right? So somebody else is talking. So you
Right.
kind of think that we're
Yeah.
having a conversation.
Yeah.
But having that said, you you said that in 2011 you decided to join the ministry. And so what what were so you started a church initially, or what was the trajectory to that?
No, so in 2011, I got the call,
Yeah.
but I didn't join the ministry yet, like because I was still trying to understand what that meant. So I was just helping people with music. But then it was in 2013 when I was on a music tour with Pastor Ashley, gone to Fiji Islands. That's when the Lord clearly told me, this is the time, step out in full time ministry.
Yeah.
So that's when it got really clearer for me. And one of the reasons why I think it took so much time was because I had this, mm, I was struggling with the whole issue about finances because I've seen my parents being in ministry and, the whole tussle with faith and finances. That was not something that I really wanted to. And maybe that's why I chose a professional path than join ministry.
So you said that you did not want to be. So does that mean that you're saying that you felt that you didn't have the faith that probably they had, or you did not
Yeah.
want to, you didn't want to be dependent on somebody else for money to do the ministry?
I would say I didn't have the faith then
Yeah.
for finances. Like I didn't want to struggle in that sense.
Yeah.
But once you get into full time ministry, you realize like it's not really a struggle when you trust God because when He's given you the word, He backs it up also.
Yeah.
So been in ministry for the last more than 10 years, and God has been so faithful in
Yeah.
providing. But at that time it was difficult. So I remember going back and putting my papers down, and my
Yeah.
boss says, I'll increase your salary, give you 25% hike.
Yeah.
And then I stayed because he increased my salary.
That was a great, that was from the Lord. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then the next 4 months, I didn't get my salary and none of my colleagues did. Like the company went bankrupt
Oh,
almost. So
wow.
I was like the Jonah. So I realized pretty quick, took 4 months, and then I told him I don't need my,
Salary.
yeah, I don't need my pending payments. Just keep it, but I'm going to step out. And that's how I stepped out actually in 2014.
Wow. So when you obviously your father is a very reputed pastor, minister, lot of experience and years under his belt of serving the Lord. So how so when you decided to do something like this, what was his take on, or were you like that typical Malayali മോന് കർത്താവിന്റെ വേല ചെയ്യണം? Was it like that, or how was what was their feedback?
I think in that sense, I'm so blessed that my parents were very open and they never pushed me or forced me into anything. They were very open and they gave me a lot of space and a lot of grace in me trying out whatever I wanted. So I had a lot of help there.
Yeah.
It was easy. It was not difficult.
So when so these are the conversations like if you had with your dad, he'll be like, is it like, I'll help you? Like, because, when we are
Yeah.
younger, we have
Yeah.
this tendency of, we want to do it ourselves, kind of a vibe, and we don't
Right.
want to
Right.
really
Right.
want to necessarily get any input from anyone because we
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
what we want to do is like, isn't it so ironic that we all think that jo hum kar rahe hain is like the most unique, path-breaking,
That's
trailblazing
true.
thing, and everything that has happened before us is like, whatever you.
That's true. Yeah.
And so how was he with that?
I think my dad was more like he wanted me to test the waters and see where this was going. And he often would just come here and there and just challenge me on, ask me questions like, what's your vision? Where are you heading? And I never wanted to answer those questions. Like it was not more about, it was nothing to do with money and support in that sense. He was more like, he just wanted to see if I was heading in the right direction.
So was your dad like tough love, or was it like
Yeah.
oh, mone?
No. Definitely tough love.
Huh?
My dad is definitely tough love.
He's tough love,
Yeah,
but he
tough
doesn't,
love.
he seems like he doesn't talk much like you.
No, 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 no.
He's
No,
very
no, I think
straightforward.
he's very straightforward, tough love, asks the right questions, the hard ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So when you look back at, like, what you have seen while growing up, uh, and you've started your church and you're in ministry, um, have you ever felt that you had to unlearn things, or you wanted to do things in a different vein, or explore something else that has not been tread
yeah,
new waters in
yeah.
ministry? Have you ever?
Yeah, meaning absolutely. Like as you said, when I started in ministry, I wanted to do something that was unique, that nobody has done before, had that
Yeah.
pioneering spirit, thought. But like over the years, I understood what God was actually doing. So
What was that?
meaning even the fact that God wanted to do a church, like wanted us to do a church, that came eventually. When I started, I started with a Bible study and I started with some youth groups and I was just testing waters. I tried everything and anything that I knew, right, to do things differently. But then in the overall picture, the idea was that we become a church.
So I'm saying many people have this, not misconception. Everybody has this perspective, maybe, that when you're going into ministry, that you said a very important thing, which is that you tested everything that you knew how to do.
Yeah.
And then some people be like, oh, God didn't tell you exactly what to do, like
Yeah.
where to go, which room to be in.
Right. Right.
So how did you navigate that? Because I'm sure that you tested something, not everything was successful, then you moved
Yeah.
on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So how was that? Were you like doubting yourself, or were you like, I'm just trying to do whatever I can, wherever I can, however I can, and
Yeah.
see what happens? Was that your attitude, or?
So there's always there's like a inner sense of where I'm going, that God has this in control, and in that direction, He gives me a lot of grace to try out things, and
Yeah.
I think I'm very quick to navigate and pivot. At least I was then, because everything was small,
Yeah.
so you can change things very quickly. So when we started youth ministry, and also you have to understand the context is I did not like church structures, like church institution, a lot of church hurt, the syndrome of being a pastor's kid and all of that. So I never thought that God would one day ask me to start a church, which I hated. But I genuinely wanted to serve God. Genuinely.
How would people hurt you? Because you seem like so introverted, So I'm like,
अरे किसी ने comment pass कर दिया.
अच्छा,
Because pastors kids are, I think, the most
under a lot of
vulnerable,
scrutiny.
and yeah, a lot of scrutiny, and then you see the hypocrisy because you are the pastor's kid. You see a lot of inner workings that happens in the church. You see a lot of hypocrisy. So that was one of the things which actually took me aback from the whole church setup. But then I really did want to serve God. So I tried everything else. Tried couple of para church stuff, which really didn't work for me, and I did not see any fruit in that. But then eventually the Lord, God is so gracious. Like He'll give you so much grace that He will walk with you in the journey that you're going,
Yeah.
and then slowly convince you, and then turn like lead us into repentance.
Yeah.
Like, but He was so gracious, but that took like almost like 6 years of my time.
Wow.
If I was maybe more humble, I would have got here maybe faster.
What do you mean by more humble? Like,
Meaning, if I was willing to change at the
but when I look at you, I don't feel there's anything in you that needs to change. What do you want to change?
not now, but when I began, like there was a lot of
What? Acha,
preconceived notions
हाँ,
about church, preconceived notions about hierarchy and church structures and stuff, which now I'm beginning to understand that it's part of the kingdom. I'm beginning to understand the blessing in it, the honor and the submission attribute to it. But then I had there was a rebellious attitude in me, which I did not see it. It took time. Even once I started the church, like God had to really uproot that slowly, one by one.
So if you look at Sam in 2025 and you look at the Sam in 2014, what would you tell the Sam of 2014 right now that, bro, you
Uh,
need to you need to
yeah,
stop doing this like right
yeah,
now. If he was your little brother right now,
yeah.
what would you tell him?
I would tell him like not everybody is against you.
Because you had that feeling.
Yeah, meaning like I had that feeling that nobody understands me because I'm charting my own course.
Yeah.
So, I'm a pioneer, Christopher Columbus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So not everybody is against you, and especially in the whole chunk of what your people, your parents, your elders are saying,
Yeah.
you have to find the wisdom. You have to find the pearls. Just because there's some noise here and there, don't get drenched in the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you said you spoke about rebellion, you spoke about how you were not really in sync with hierarchy and so and so forth. And now you have a church, and I'm assuming there are a lot of young people, right? And
Yeah.
with young people comes a lot of drama and all this millennial stuff, which is like they're entitled,
Yeah.
they're not 100% uh, forthcoming with what they want to do, and
Yeah.
they also have hidden agendas. So how are you navigating through that? Because it's almost like you got out of one, it's like you jumped from the fire and you went into the hot coal. It's like another scenario of another
Yeah.
generation. So how are you
Yeah.
navigating that as being a young guy
Yeah.
who's not that old? So you're not like an uncle.
Yeah.
So, but you have to tell them what to do, what not to do, how you can do it,
Right.
and what is their
Yeah.
limits.
I guess that's where the power of storytelling comes in. Like my testimony is such a wonderful story in the sense like I've been there, I've done that, and genuinely thought I was doing something great,
Yeah,
right? But until that rebellion is not taken care of, God will never lead us towards greatness. In the sense like rebellion reminds him of Lucifer.
yeah,
So my story is where I connect with such people and tell them, hey guys, I've done this, I've been there, and you need to be more open to correction, be more open to listening to people who have gone ahead of you.
So see, when you say rebellion, right, automatically we we automatically think that rebellion is, I don't like you,
Yeah,
you suck, I don't
yeah,
want to, don't talk to
yeah,
me. But explain what kind of rebellion
right,
are you talking about,
yeah,
which is as detrimental in our inner parts as much as, cursing
right,
somebody out on
right,
his
right, right.
face.
I think a simple form of rebellion would be thinking that you know everything, not being teachable, not leaving space open for correction by your leaders. If you don't have a mentor, if you don't have a leader, if you don't have people whom you look up to, whom you are accountable to, that's rebellion too.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, After coming in ministry, after doing church, we were still like small, growing. And when COVID happened, it was like chaotic
yeah,
time. And I remember that the Lord dealt with my heart one night, and the Holy Spirit said, Sam, you don't honor the ministry that your parents do because you think what you're doing is so unique. You think what you're doing is so authentic and genuine. You don't honor what your parents do.
wow,
And one of the things that the Holy Spirit reminded me was, who taught you the gospel? Who brought you the gospel first? Yeah, you are here now. You are all of this guy, and you know so much about, at least you think that you know so much. But then who taught you this gospel?
yeah.
And that really humbled me.
Who sowed the seeds?
Yeah. And that day, I genuinely, genuinely repented. Uh, I started honoring my parents for the sacrifice they made.
Yeah,
Hey, I don't have to agree with everything. The technique could be different or the strategy could be different, but I don't have to agree to that. But just the fact that they were called by God, they sacrificed for the calling that was upon them. That's huge.
So that really leads me to the next point, which I think young people need to understand. How do you define success in ministry?
Yeah,
You know, that's a very
yeah,
important thing that nobody really talks about. Is success equal to you having 100,000 followers, or is success equal to me having 15 people in my church in a village in the
yeah,
middle of nowhere? Or what? How would you how would you encourage our generation people
yeah,
to see the value of success as it pertains to our position of honoring our predecessors
right.
and our next generation?
Yes. Well, the Bible says good and faithful
Yeah,
servant, so I think sometimes that faithful is replaced by successful. And if we as ministers of God who are in ministry understand success by the worldly understanding of success, how they determine success, a quantitative analysis, then I think we will be really discouraged, because in the overall schemes of what God is doing through us, I don't think we can do a quantitative analysis of it. Like, God can make an international impact through someone who is working in the tribal regions of Orissa.
yeah.
God can do that. But that is when they are being faithful in what they are called for. Not that numbers don't matter, but the idea is to be faithful in the calling that God has put upon your life.
So as a young minister, what has been your greatest struggle? Because we're engrossed in this rat race of whether we want to be or not want to be, in this rat race of social media, where whether we like it or not,
Right.
we are forced to be compared or to compare
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So how do you keep yourself even keeled in
Yeah.
that scenario?
My greatest struggle is to stay in my lane, is to do what I'm called to do, because I have friends who have different kinds of ministry and different kinds of growth and different rate of growth,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, I mean, I have the same struggle like any other young person would, which is like just to stay in my lane, to be assured again and again that I am fulfilling the call of God upon my life, and that obedience is success. Just
Yeah,
to be obedient to the Lord right now, that's success for me.
that's amazing. And so sad to see, there are so many, like we heard, there was a news about an individual, pastor that's coming out on
Right.
the main stage.
Yeah.
Like, what can we do to, if that's true? I don't really know, the I hope that if it's just and fair, but what do you think can protect our generation? Because when I look at our previous generation, they would have been boring, they would have been poor, they would have been all of those things. But
Yeah.
I know for a fact that they did not compromise like I see many of us
Yeah.
in our generation doing, whether it be with flamboyance, whether it be with dancing on the line of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So how do you think, what is your thoughts on that? How would you?
I guess where that's where the covering comes in, like the elders whom we are accountable to, the mentors and the leaders that we have, who have actually gone ahead of us, and they've seen it all. And the covering can really protect us from unnecessary pain,
Yeah.
unnecessary toil also.
Wow. And I think that we as as I think somebody in ministry as well, I feel that sometimes I ask myself that, God, do we really want to become that big? Because everything is like it's like an allure, the
Yeah.
allure of India is such a culture where they're just waiting to glorify you.
Yeah.
They're just waiting to be like, you're the chosen one, you're the special one,
Yeah.
you are the. So I sometimes feel that, I want to, is it better to be out of it but we need it. We
Mm.
need technology. We
Yeah.
need all of these avenues, these tools. These are, we can use it for good or for evil, but is it getting to our head or
Right. Right.
just that
Right.
tension is always there.
Yeah. I do think like God does not do small things.
Yeah.
Like every vision, even though the beginning is small, every vision God has a great purpose out of it. So
Yeah.
I don't think God does something that is mediocre
Yeah.
or which is the usual and small and minute. So it's always big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now when you're in 2025, what do you think is like you thought in 2014, the unique thing that you are doing? Or do you feel that, you're just doing what God called your dad to do, but in a different manner?
Man, that's that's very difficult to answer. But I would say my heart is for people to understand the power of the gospel.
Yeah.
And I believe every church or every leader, God gives like a unique DNA of the same word,
Yeah.
unique DNA of the same gospel. And I think for me is more about identity because that's something that I've really struggled with my whole life. So using my testimony
Yeah.
to encourage young people not to get caught up in, in the things, but to get grounded
Yeah.
in your identity as being a child of God. So I think that's what I'm called for mostly. I don't know. Maybe it might change tomorrow.
And so now when your dad does he come to your church?
Yeah, sometimes like
So what
we
what
have
is his what
special
is
event.
what is his inputs? What is his what's his take on everything that's happening?
Uh, I think overall he feels very proud and he does
Does he
express that.
express it?
Yeah, yeah, he expresses it. He expresses it every time he's on the stage. But other than that, yeah, there are times when he would challenge us also, but those are like in closed doors. He asks the hard questions. But I think overall he's very happy to
So
see.
have you also expressed how much you are proud of him or
Not in words.
not in words? Tell me about that. What's happening with that?
I think I'm still mustering up my courage.
Why? What makes you feel that it's hard for you to do?
I think with my parents, I have a very emotional. I'm not that emotional when it comes to people. Generally, I'm a very straightforward, rational guy. But with my parents, I've had that emotional thing that every time I want to talk something in that direction, I might just end up crying. So I don't really share.
So you don't want to cry, which is why you
Yeah.
don't why you don't
But
tell him how proud you
but
are of
but
him.
there are other ways to express, right? So
Like what?
like, we honor with our substance and we give them
Oh,
gifts and
oh, like
yeah.
got it. Like gifts.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So that's your love language.
It's not my love language, but I just wanted to express that and I just wanted to give them something that showed honor. Uh, I think,
Now, when you have children,
yeah, yeah. Oh
what
man.
would you what would you do differently for your son or your daughter
Yeah,
when it comes to making sure that you're empowering them as a believer
right.
and putting them on the journey to what God has in store for them? What would you do differently?
Differently, I don't know, but to have like more such honest conversations and leave the space open for them to ask questions. Because I think when we were growing up, maybe there was space, but now when I think about it, I feel like that space was not there so much to
Basically, give
ask
them more
questions.
space.
Yeah, to give them more space to ask questions and to ask the tough questions. Like, what if I wanted to ask, is Jesus God or, stuff like that. Uh, I think I would want to create a safe space where my kids can ask questions.
Well, there you go. That's my buddy Sam, and I'm so proud of what he's doing. Um, why don't you tell us about where your church is and just a little bit?
Yeah, our church is in Gitorni, and the name of our church is Lighthouse Church.
Well, there you have it. And they're doing a wonderful job. And I really believe that God is moving in our generation to do a great, great thing. And I'm so happy that I'm part of this generation because I believe this generation is going to reap the greatest harvest in the nation of India that has ever seen before. And that's my cry and my prayer. And I'm sure every generation thought that, but I hope that this is going to be the generation.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing your heart. And I hope I would have spoken more. Anyways, see you guys next time. God bless you all. See you.